What started with a text message sent to the wrong person has now become a complex set of incidents and accusations about various leaders within the Albuquerque Public Schools. 2 weeks ago, new APS Superintendent Dr. Luis Valentino sent a text message to CFO Don Moya that he meant to send to Education Secretary Hanna Skandera. The message said he was going to, quote, go after Don Moya, end quote. And later that day, Mr. Moya was put on administrative leave. Those errant texts were then released to the public shortly thereafter. And then emails between Moya and Deputy Superintendent Jason Martinez were also released. Those emails show Mr. Moya flagging a questionable RFP for the district and tension between Mr. Martinez and Mr. Moya. Then Jason Martinez resigned suddenly last Thursday. The next day, reporter Joey Peters for the New Mexico Political Report broke an entirely different story. Jason Martinez is facing multiple felony charges in Colorado, including charges related to inappropriately touching children. And Mr. Martinez never completed his background check while working for APS. There's even more to talk about this hour, including a whistleblower lawsuit filed this week by Don Moya, but let's start here. I'm joined tonight by Dan Foley, former New Mexico House Minority Whip. Former New Mexico State Senator Dee Dee Feldman is here. Laura Sanchez-Rive from Sanchez Legal Solutions is with us, and Rob Nikolewski from watchdog.org. Laura, start with that background check I just mentioned that was never done for Mr. Martinez. Lots of parents have stated on social media they can't even volunteer for their school without going through a background check. We certainly can't know quite yet what exactly happened with this background check. But since you were the attorney at the table, I have to ask you about the liability issues at play here. There's been great pains to be said that Mr. Martinez was never near any children. That's now under question a little bit as we sit here and tape this. There's a lot of questions out there. What about the liability issues on there? And of course, Mr. Beldera is going to be looking into that as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've had to go through my share of background checks anytime. I mean, even as I did. I mean, even as an attorney, you have to be fingerprinted before you can even take the bar.
Right.
You know, anytime you want a federal job, you have to. Anytime there's a law enforcement job. So I've had my share of all those, and it always is the case that you do not get a job offer. You certainly don't start the job, but you don't even get a job offer until after that has been completed and everything came back clean. And if there's questions, you know, the same thing when I even got my Senate confirmation for a RETA appointment. You know, nothing moved forward until everything was clear and all questions were answered. So something was dramatically wrong in this situation. And I think as an attorney, what troubles me is this allegation that one of the attorneys for APS contacted HR and told HR that this person would already be starting.
That's right.
I find that troubling because as an attorney, you really, you know, it is not the attorney's job to call HR.
That's right.
There's an internal process. It really should have come from the superintendent. So somewhere the superintendent was not having the right kind of communication with his own staff. Right. And I think that's a huge problem with his leadership style, at the very least. So in terms of liability, I mean, it depends if there's any allegations or any, you know, at this point it doesn't seem like anybody is raising that as an issue. It's more of a concern and certainly a policy moving forward, a policy question, an internal question. But if it does come to light that he had interaction with children, I think you're going to see a lot of parents who will absolutely hold APS responsible for that. And the liability is huge. And that's why you have these policies and procedures to prevent that kind of issue from happening and protect APS from any kind of liability. So I think that's been a huge problem.
And Rob, we also have the specter I didn't do in the setup because there's so many things to set up that we have the woman who runs HR. She's lawyered up now, and she put out a statement saying, no, in fact, here are the dates I let Mr. Valentino know that this had not been done. He has now pushed back on that in his round of media this week, saying, no, it's only happened twice. So we have a disparity there. I gotta think that this could be easily tracked down via the email system at some point.
Right.
Someone's gonna find out. What
yeah, I would think that if there is an email trail backing up what the HR person says that she contacted him 6 times, then I think Mr. Valentino sunk.
Right.
But, I mean, this whole thing, nobody looks good. Certainly Mr. Martinez looks horrible.
Right.
Mr. Valentino looks bad. The school board looks bad. This whole rollout makes Winston Brooks look like Winston Churchill. I mean, this is really bad.
Wow. Senator, you know, it's interesting. Amongst many things that do look bad, however, is, you know, this idea that we don't know what kind of undue influence was applied where to get this background check sort of skirted around. But does it, in your mind, in your gut, does Mr. Valentino bear the entire responsibility here if, in fact, he couldn't just turn to his deputy and say, go down the hall and get your fingerprints, please. Just go down the hall. It's not that hard.
It's suspicious. Why didn't he do that?
Right.
Why didn't he do that? And why didn't somebody demand that that be done? And perhaps it was Don Moya.
Right.
But Don Moya was pointing out a different problem. Problem.
That's
and that was that Jason Martinez was about to engage in what he considered a waste of taxpayers' money and go into a extraordinary RFP with this advanced network management, and so he wanted that stopped. And the crucial thing to me is, why was he the only one to suffer consequences? Why was he the only one that was put on leave or fired? I don't know whether he's been fired or not. Nobody is saying why he was put on leave. This is just another one of the secret deals in
Personnel
APS.
issues.
Yeah, personnel.
You hide a lot of things under that, can't you? Yeah, exactly right. Dan, we have the school board involved, certainly. They're the ones ostensibly who do the hiring and the firing, so to speak. And as we sit here and tape this...
Only of the superintendent.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I mean, that's by law.
That's a good
They
point.
can
That's a
only
good
hire and
clarification.
fire the superintendent. Then he's responsible for everything else.
That's right. But as we sit and tape this, we don't have, well, we know this continuation until next Monday for the board to make a decision. But there's a lot of intrigue with the board. We've got a couple of seemingly conflicts of interest as well, and particularly with the hiring of the chief of staff for Mr. Valentino, who turned out to be the headhunter to find this man to hire him. Does that ring true in your gut? Does that work for you, as hiring someone who's the headhunter to be your chief of staff?
Well, I mean, I will say this. It depends. I mean, if that's someone that's local in New Mexico and Mr. Valentino believes that that's the right person to be his chief of staff, and they've got the
It's got to go beyond just being
knowledge.
local. I mean, this woman was paid money to find him, to recommend him to have that job.
Well, I don't think she recommended just him. I think they went out and they found a pool of candidates from which to choose from. I think the interesting news, the one to watch in this whole thing, though, I mean, everybody's kind of touched on all the school stuff. I got to say, it's been interesting to watch, the Attorney General in this process. I mean, you got to give him credit. He hasn't wasted any time stepping forward and saying, we're going to watch this, we're going to insert ourselves and make sure what caused this process to be circumvented. I mean, was something done that shouldn't have been done? And I think it's interesting to see someone from that statewide elective office that's not just sitting back. We tend to have in New Mexico, when things go awry in APS, Albuquerque, APD, most statewide elected officials want to throw their hands in the air and run because it's such a big place. It's where you got to win to get elected.
Sure.
And here's the Attorney General saying, wait a minute, we got to look at this. We got to see, and maybe it's because he's got kids in the school system. He's got a wife that teaches, but I think, seeing him stepping up, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. He threw out there that we're looking into this, and he's kind of letting all of this stuff play out, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the road. Is there actions that can be brought by the Attorney General's office regardless of what happens here? Is there ramifications to the school district, to the school board, to the superintendent, regardless of what happens 60, 90 days down the road, that the Attorney General's office can bring to bear? And to see him get out there early and in the front is a pretty interesting, and I think it shows moxie, I would say.
Sure. Laura, we've got, again, I mentioned the board's going to delay a decision that we were all surprised didn't happen on Thursday. It's going to happen on Monday now.
We think.
Exactly. Good point. Very good point.
They'll meet Monday and decide to
There's a
work the
couple of
Christmas
things at stake here. I got to wonder if there's a firing, it's very complicated, as was pointed out in the Journal on Thursday morning. Very, very, very complicated. You have to show a lot of interesting just cause for this. And I could imagine that Mr. Valentino, who came out the day before and said he was not going to resign, I'm wondering if that was a bit of a tactical move on his point, saying, y'all going to have to pay me my $720.
Well, remember, he said he wasn't going to take the money. Remember,
that's true, too.
Remember, he's on an interview with the KOB where they said, if you get fired, he said, I will not take the money.
That's right. But things change. Things change. Right. Please.
I mean, I think, so many people are concerned about this. Many parents, community members. The board has got to be under a lot of pressure to make the right decision in this situation, and it is going to be costly. I mean, regardless of what he said, I think all bets are off in a situation where you're really facing, being fired. and it's a large payout, but they have to balance that with the, really with a number of things, and that includes the stability of the organization of APS moving forward.
Good point.
And I think that so much has been, I mean, we're still in August, and so many problems have already come up with this superintendent that you have to, I mean, they really have to be taken seriously, the opportunity to fire him.
It's been a problem for 12, 13 years now, the superintendent position. That
Sure.
APS
One of the,
Oh,
and
yeah.
one of the
They've-
problems too, I mean, it has
Please.
been, and I think that this particular superintendent has really, he just doesn't really, he has admitted that he's not familiar with the politics of New Mexico.
That's right.
And he has said it multiple times as, as almost like
he
an
is now,
excuse.
that's for sure.
And the problem is that, this is what we run into when we hire people from out of state.
right.
And we're looking for a certain amount of credentials, but we don't really value the, what kind of experience they have in terms of understanding the politics and really having that heart and investment in the community.
That's a
And
good
that's
point.
huge.
But also, though, to critique Mr. Valentino, you don't have to be from out of state to check references.
Yeah.
And they didn't check. They didn't check Mr. Martinez's references.
Right.
But in his defense, he told KOB Television that he was told back on July 15th that Martinez had not gotten a background check. But he and Valentino says he was not told again until August 19th. If that's true, I think he might skate by. But as I said earlier, if they've got an email trail showing that he knew before then a
right.
number of times,
Yeah.
then I think he's toast.
Well, I think that definition of just cause, that he can be fired by just cause, actually gives the school board more latitude rather than less latitude.
In what way?
Well, because I think they say there has to be a reason rationally related to an employee's competence or turpitude. Now, competence certainly speaks to checking references and Googling the names.
Or
Inability to send the
interfering
text.
in that process.
But the
right.
thing is, the underlying question, when everybody says, oh, it'll cost so much to do a new search, it's going to cost so much to buy him out. Well, what is the price that people put on public trust? Because that is worth a lot. And at this point, the district has lost public trust of parents, of teachers, of the rest of the nation, after all of our history here. And he has really, his apology, for me, it's too little, too late, and it may be a strategic move to save his own skin here. So, I think that I was very disappointed that he didn't resign.
So here's the big move. Here's the big move, Gene. I know we probably want to move on, but here's
okay.
just
We're good.
watch this play out. The largest school district in the state of New Mexico, one of the largest school districts in the United States. You have presidential elections coming up. You have the opportunity, overwhelmingly, my time in the legislature, Senator, I think you would agree, I think overwhelmingly most of the legislators, even from Albuquerque, wanted to break up APS. There was constantly.
That's right.
So now, does all of this inaction give PED the opportunity to run in and snatch control of APS and say, the school board can handle this. This is a history of this. They're in the hole. They're 21 million in the hole.
Right.
They couldn't hire the superintendent. Does the PED come in and snatch this and say, we're going to break it up? We're going to come back and break it up.
That's a
Receivership,
political solution that I
in
think
other
will be
words.
radioactive.
Well, and I think it's a stretch, especially given that there's allegations that they were involved in influencing the hiring of Jason Martinez over Don Moya.
I don't
mean,
think it's a stretch at all, and I think it's radioactive. There's no doubt it's radioactive, but if you're Governor Martinez and you're able to meet with high-ranking legislators, both R's and D's, that have introduced legislation to break up APS and say, help me do this, we break it up, it could be the feather in her cap.
That's right.
That forever she says, this is what I do.
We're going to dive into that whistleblower lawsuit in our next segment because it's just so big on its own and it needs its own question. How large does the Winston Brooks situation loom over this in your view?
I think it's very large, $350,000 large. And also, he was the second APS superintendent who got a big payout. There was Mr. Allison a few years ago who got $300,000 plus. And I think that's a major factor here that taxpayers are going to say. And that's why I think the school board's on the hook in this thing as well.
There you go. Up next, a reporter who has recently spent time covering the Animas River spill from the Navajo Nation tells us what tribal members and officials are saying about the short and long-term damage.